Look, the schedule is BS, period. End of story. There's no justification for American League teams playing National League teams at the rate they do now. Like to play 2, 3, 4 games against a team in a league that does not compete against you, that has no influence whatsoever in whether you get into the playoffs or not, is nonsense to me. That either you have a 30 or 30, or how many teams are in baseball? 30?
30.
If you have a 30-team league, fine. Then you play everybody. And you play everybody approximately the same number of times. That's fine. But if you've got 2 15-league teams and you're going to play a handful of games against the other league, that's irrelevant. It'd be like the National Hockey League going to play the Czech League for 15 games a year. It means nothing.
Well, I would actually...
It has no consequence.
But I would say this, Bob. Now that we've got the AL and NL playing the same rules, so that means
all right, that's fine. I'm all right with that. I didn't say anything about rules. I said schedule.
But let's remember this. In the National Hockey League right now, you do play everybody, at least some percentage of your schedule. Obviously, it's a different number of games, different structure to the sport, but the principle is the same.
But let me ask you something. Can a team in another division affect whether you get into the playoffs or not?
Sure, they can.
Exactly. Sure. Can that happen in baseball? Can
a
National League team impact whether a team gets into the playoffs in the American League? No.
No, but Bob,
you can't lose out to a team in the National League. You can't.
But if you look at the structure is the same though. If you are the Anaheim Ducks will never compete with the Florida Panthers for a direct playoff berth in terms of you make it, I don't make it. But
sure they could.
The games between them will influence that. Same thing is true in baseball. A game between the Cardinals and the Tigers won't necessarily be for a
a game against Czechoslovakia would influence you too, but they don't do that. Go and play Japan for 10 or 12 days. They don't do that kind of stuff.
No, but
this is all mumbo jumbo nonsense to create rivalries and things that is perceived the fan in America wants. And it's nonsense.
No, I think we're seeing a morphing of Major League Baseball because we're within the next 5 years, we're going to probably have expansion. And then we're going to have a 32-team league. And then we're going to redefine the divisions and only have one league, not two. Right, John?
Well, fine. Then let's do it then. Then let's change the schedule at that point.
This is
to do
the
it now is
morphing of
ridiculous.
Well, they did do it, Bob, so it's too late. And this is the morphing.
So what?
So
I'm supposed to sit here and accept it? No. I'm going to tell you what I think. I think it's crap that the American League and the National League have played each other during the regular season. It's stupid. It makes no sense whatsoever. Play the teams in your own league. Play the teams that you have to beat in order to get to the postseason. Period.
Bob wants 1977.
Yeah,
sure. Why not?
I would say, Bob, I respectfully disagree, my friend, because...
Well, you're an idiot then.
Well, okay. Well, here you go. If you look at this, we're trying to sell the product of Major League Baseball.
You're telling me the Milwaukee Brewers in Toronto sell product? How many did they have last night? The game was half empty.
Because of this, because of the fact that the Brewers and Blue Jays are playing, this is the same structure that allows Shohei Ohtani to play against every team in the sport.
Don't care.
And I care. And the fans, trust me, the fans in National League ballparks who get a chance to watch him and Trout and the superstars of the game, they care. They're excited by this. This is empirically good for the game's growth.
Somebody says that and you're buying that. Look, we all grew up in an era where Juan Marichal and Sandy Koufax.
Oh my God, you're bringing up Juan Marichal and Sandy Koufax?
Yeah, would pitch once a year on television. And that's all we saw them, period. They both were National Leaguers. If you didn't live in a National League city, you weren't going to see them. And guess what? Thousands of people went to the game. The game was still successful. To change all this is fine if you're going to change it the whole way. But to nibble and nibble around is nonsense. You're not going to see, they're not going to guaranteed to see Ohtani pitch at their stadium every year, are they? Are they? a National League team.
No, but their team play Ohtani's team every year, which has
what? What does that got to do with anything? You give a crap about the rest of the Angels? Nobody does. You care. You'd like to see Ohtani pitch, but there's no guarantee that Ohtani will pitch.
No, but Ohtani and Trout are two guys I'd like to see play, and I don't whether Ohtani pitches that day. I'd like to see him at the plate.
Right.
You know, Bob, exactly. I think that. I mean,
get on an airplane and go then.
See that I think the world has changed. The world has changed. How people watch games has changed, Bob.
That's a pile of crap.
No, it isn't, Bob. It's
you are. All you're doing is you're buying into Major League Baseball's scenario, which they created on their own. It's not somebody else's scenario. If your reason to do this is to give people a chance to see other players, then play enough games to make sure you see all the other players. Period.
Here's a good exercise. Go back and look at the attendance numbers during what we generally regard to be the golden era of baseball, whether it's the 50s or the 60s, Mickey Mantle, Maris, the home run chase. Check out how many fans were at the ballpark on those games and compare it to now. The attendance now is extraordinarily higher. The interest in the game by that metric is greater in the last decade than it's ever been. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind, that yes, there were great times in the past, but the game is actually more accessible and more popular now by many metrics than it's ever been. And so you have to then give credit to some of the changes that have come along with how often the superstars are going to different places. I would be curious, and for me, it's a big deal as a hockey fan and a hockey person. It's a big deal when Sid comes to your town, when Ovechkin comes to your town, when McDavid comes to your town. As a basketball fan, I don't follow the NBA very closely, but sure, I'd like to see LeBron play in your city every year.
Fine, but they play every night. So if their team is going to play in your city, you go to that game, you're going to see that player play if that's what you want. I think that's a pile of baloney, but nonetheless, at least that's going to happen. If it's a star pitcher, if it's an Ohtani, if it was, Koufax, there's no guarantee whatsoever. No. None.
But this speaks to how I think the game has completely evolved, Bob. I think that, and it's also one of those ones where you say there was a special time. There is a special time, I think, for baseball fans to be able to go to an American League city and watch the Dodgers play. I know, but I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people have fun with that.
Look we used to play 19 games against the divisional opponents, right?
Yeah.
What do they play now? 14?
14.
Is that better?
I think it is, because it gives you more diversity in your schedule.
I'll tell you, I used to go to every game. The fact that the Yankees were there, the Red Sox were there, whoever was there for 19 days, so what? It didn't mean I was less interested because they were there too often, and then I'm more interested now because they only play 14. What I'm interested in is who are the other 5 teams they're playing now on those dates. And they're playing a bunch of teams I don't care about. Do I care about Milwaukee? No. Am I interested in what place Milwaukee's in? I am not. Do I care about their players? Do I know their players? Do I have any familiarity with them? I do not. And I'll tell you, most fans are like me. They don't know who these guys are. They aren't challenges. There's a great team in the National League one year and you'd like to see them. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a great player in the National League and you'd like to see him. But it just doesn't happen every night.
So you talked about the only 600 level team in the National League was the Dodgers. You don't want to see the Dodgers play in Toronto? No, you don't want to see. You don't want to see the Braves play
how many games? How many Dodger games have you watched this year, John? Tell the truth. None.
One.
Right?
One.
Yeah. Okay, I have watched none.
Yeah.
And I was a Dodger fan. When I lived in Vegas, I was a Dodger fan. I watched the Dodgers every day. I don't see them every day. I don't know who's playing for them anymore.
Freddie Freeman is.
Well, that I know.
No,
There's one guy you mentioned.
But
who's their shortstop today?
Isn't it? Let's see. Ron Say's at third. Lopes is at second.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill Russell.
Yeah,
it's
there
Bill
you go.
Russell. How's that, JP?
There you go. So
you might be off by a couple years.
He's taking you back 40 years. The Dodger lineup.
The correct answer would be Miguel Rojas. But
well, there you go. Now, if you watch the Dodgers, if you're a fan on the West Coast, you know that, but I don't.
Because maybe you should.
You can't follow all 30 teams, and that's what you need to do. You need to narrow it down.